Hi, friends. My name's host Eric, and I'm currently awash in a whirlwind of controversy over Rachel's comments regarding Megan Lavota's girlfriend yesterday. Oof. It has whipped up a... No, it hasn't really. Rachel, nobody said anything about it at all. Hi, Rapper Vicky. How's our resident INFP male doing?
Yeah.
You feeling moist today?
Hey, Octavia Silva.
Hi, Octavia Silva. I typed one of you guys yesterday. ISFP. Yeah, one of you guys, one of you ISFP guys. You know what's funny about ISFPs is it seems like every time I type one, I go, okay, here we go. Hi, Raphael. Yeah, I get a lot of them. And the thing is, I go, okay, this person, from what I can tell, really probably thinks they're an INFJ, and I'm going to have to explain to them they're an ISFP. And so I go, okay, well, here's the deal. I think you're an ISFP, but you probably think you're a, I go through a thing, and he's like, no, I was torn between ISFP and ESFP. If you're torn between ISFP and ESFP, you're an ISFP. If you're torn between ENTP, INFJ, and INTJ, you're an ESFP. ISFPs are really kind of ideal clients because they come to me because they want to know the truth about their type. They don't want me to confirm their bullshit for them like ESFPs do. They don't want me to like contribute to their confusion, as it's possible INTP might, they really want you to just contribute to their confusion. Give me more reasons why it might be meow. May you suggest that one has nothing to do with the other? One what? Has nothing to do with the other what? I think ISFPs and INFJs and ENTJs, they all find me to type them because of the same reason. They actually want the single correct answer. But I appreciate third slot NI. I do type some ISTPs as well because it's satisfied with the truth. It's like, it's not... INFPs, INTPs can sometimes continue to go back and forth about things after I type them because they have second slot extroverted intuition, which means they can continue to think of more possible things. Whereas NI types either already have the answer clearly enough, which is why I probably don't type that many INTJs, or want the answer clear. So, like, it bothered... Rachel was in a state of years of being bothered by not being typed correctly and trying to understand herself through the frame of reference of an ENFP, for example. That was dissatisfying to her. She was going to continue to look for the answer until she found the right answer because she's an NI dom. And she was not going to be satisfied with the wrong answer. So it's like, that's, I think, why I get a lot of ISFPs, is that third slot NI. And, ISFPs have the same values as I do as well. Unlike ISTPs who, have both the T's as absolute values, where I have both the T's as instrumental values. But ISFPs and ENTPs have exactly the same absolute and instrumental values. So that's another reason why I think ISFPs tend to trust me. And that's really what it boils down to, is who do you trust on the one hand? And that's going to be determined a lot by what do you want to accomplish here. So let's say you have a very TE frame about cognitive functions and you want to accomplish something like becoming a master of all the functions. Well, you're going to trust C.S. Joseph more because he's talking from your frame of reference, even if it doesn't validate on TI grounds. It's something you're comfortable going through the motions of, I guess. Your conflictor type has the same values, correct?
I was just going to ask about that. It's fascinating to me because, at least on the surface level, ISFPs and you get along. There's like this like mutual understanding when you guys talk to each other.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's exactly a mutual understanding so much as a sort of collegial mutual respect, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like the thing that's weird about it, of course, is for your conflictor type, your polar is an absolute value, and so is your dominant. And so it's like my absolute value of NE and my tool function of TI means that even though FI is an absolute value for me, it's not something that I'm going to actually pay attention with very often. Similar with ISFP and NE. So it feels like a safe way of accessing the absolute value of your polar to hang out with your conflictor, as opposed to an unsafe way, like, for example, INFP. INFP is an unsafe way for me to access my polar because instead of us having that polar switcheroo thing, they've got my dominant as their tool function. So, and their polar SE, I can only be expected to use that for myself, really. And as it's subsumed by extroverted intuition. How does any polar as an absolute value actually manifest in the real world? Well, perfect example. You're here listening to me blather on. ISFPs tend to pick me to type them. That's how it manifests. In other words, you recognize the fact that if I'm going to be correct about your type, that I'm going to have to be able to ideate some. You sort of understand this intuitively without really getting what extroverted intuition is even. You have a clarity that it's an area that's going to be required to do this thing, and he does it well. Similarly with me and in my regard to you and FI and stuff, it's like I'm not really sure what it is or how it matters, but it's probably going to be important here, and I know I can rely on you not to fuck that up or something, Which MBTI types don't like INFPs at all? I mean, I think INFPs are broadly very well liked. I don't dislike INFPs.
I would actually agree with you. Broadly very well liked. I had a coworker who was an INFP, and she was very liked by the customers.
Formal hot. Let me just say, you are a new perspective.
Oh my gosh! Thank you so much, Formal Hot.
You are a new school of philosophy in and of yourself. The Formal Hot School of Awesomeness.
I think we could give him the TWFP temporary halo.
Oh yeah, we were discussing yesterday the other day. It's pretty important, Formal Hot, since you may have already earned one. Where exactly in the Catholic Church do you have to get to in the hierarchy to earn a halo? Okay, we know that saints get halos, and angels are above saints. You got your God, Jesus, Holy Spirit that are above angels. Now you also have in the mix there the Virgin Mary. What exactly she is she a saint? I'm not sure. Does she get a halo? Yes. All right. Is there a category of people between regular people and saints that get a halo even though they're not saints? That's what I want to know. Such as honored martyrs or formal hot. for example.
Yeah.
Save someone's life. That's what you got to do to get a halo.
Jeez.
What if you're the one who puts it in danger in the first place? Do you still get a halo?
Oh.
Can you game the system like that by pushing people off of a cliff only to jump off of it and save them at the last second yourself with a bungee cord and then you get a halo?
That's funny.
I saved your life, bro. You also endangered it. People on an electric chair with plasma from ionized air around their head.
Really?
Lovely, lovely paradoxes. So what I want to talk about epistemic security is really, it's about an article I read the other day that claimed to be sort of an advocacy in favor of epistemic security, or in other words, it was largely a critique on failures of epistemology. So the thing that made me so angry reading this is it used as its concrete example to make its points off of COVID and how pushback against the COVID alarmist camp in general is indicative of an epistemic security risk, that people are being anti-science, anti-reason, anti-knowledge, whatever. So the reason this angered me so much is because it's the ultimate example of projection muddying shit such that it gets more and more difficult to engage. I mean, it was a, I'll try to, let me find the link for it. It was a well argued thing, and it made a lot of good points about epistemic security in general and the importance of our epistemological processes. But, it was guilty of the worst sort of agenda-driven bullshit. In other words, it projected all this shit onto anybody who disagrees that we should freak out forever about COVID. And of course, in the process, it ignored all the good arguments, right? Have you ever seen an anti-MBTI video that explains why MBTI is not really scientific or whatever, that doesn't avoid all the good arguments? And to me, that's epistemic security risk. When somebody who's writing about epistemic security avoids all the good arguments of the people she's opposing, that's an epistemic security risk. It's a double one because she's co-opted the term, probably coined it. I don't know, She may have coined the term.
She could have.
And it's a great term to have coined. And to have her coin it just to abuse it immediately is fucking ultra offensive. What is my school degree? I'm a 6th grader. I'm hoping to.
I got your diploma from.
I'm hoping to advance to middle school pretty soon. After that, I may attempt. Like Omaha's answer. That's a very deep and personal question, which will require your donation to answer.
That is a great answer. Eric is a black belt in school.
Pixel art, you mean like just like using GIMP or Photoshop or something? Make it look all pixelated or something? Eric Dumb. I knew it. Eric Dumb. Yeah, it's true. I have only a 6th grade education. And I should mention, it was at a special school for people who were mentally retarded. So 6th grade there is like 1st grade in regular school. How affect weed your memory? Well, poorly. I don't think it really has much of an effect on my memory, frankly. It may, if I'm like super, like last night, Rachel got super high. I don't think I've really ever seen her that high before. She was so high she couldn't talk to me. Like she couldn't carry on a conversation. She would say, "Wait, what? Who are you talking about?" I explain it again. She'd be like, "Wait, so she did what?" It's like, you know what? Forget about it. You're too high for me to talk to.
those gummies.
Oh, is that where the term was coined in 2018? Okay. Well, the article I just read was just written recently. The thing is, and broadly speaking, the left views, right-wing media, quote unquote, as an epistemic security risk. They view the conspiratorial kind of NI things like election stealing and the vaccine is a planned attack on everybody and stuff like that. They call that stuff the epistemic security risk, Alex Jones and so forth. So basically what they're saying is people's taste for epistemic candy has become a big problem. That like the election was stolen from Trump is epistemic candy. You can put together some sort of circumstantial case that something fishy was going on by just, if you look at enough splay of data, you'll find, and you cherry pick the pieces of data from a splay of data, you can put together a circumstantial case for just about anything, Did you read the Time magazine article saying they fortified the election? I mean, to call the counterculture conspiracy and dangerous when you hold the reins of power across the board, pure hypocrisy and disingenuous manipulation. No, I agree. I mean, the thing is, the problem with this whole epistemic security notion is that the answer is typically suppression, right? So it's like it appears as though those who are arguing this position are arguing in favor of suppressing this kind of information. This Saint Fomalhaut, Saint Fomalhaut, he was just $100 away from a halo, and today he earned it. So he officially became beatified. Who wants beatification? That's what I should do. I should offer beatification with enough live chat. How are my anime marathons going? They're going well. I'm currently watching a few different things concurrently. So I was very irritated. I'm very mad at Japan because guess what was postponed because of the earthquake? World Trigger. Now guess what's going on in World Trigger right now in the show? They are being attacked by aliens, but the Japanese are so cool that they aren't going to let an alien attack allow them to postpone the ranking wars. But a little earthquake allows them to postpone the episode 6 of season 2 of World Trigger. I think that Japanese channel deserves an angry letter for not living up to the values it advocates in its show World Trigger. I do try to torch flies whenever I can. Freddie Forgiato asks an excellent question. What should I watch first? Durarara or Dorohedoro? Oof. PewDiePie's new diss track got striked? Wow. PewDiePie got a community guidelines warning? I hope it sticks for him forever like mine does. I hope he doesn't get special treatment, you know. Yes, I feel epistemically secure. Let's see. I will try to torch the fly if I can. I'm going to say watch Dorohedoro first. Durarara is a show that you cannot rush at all. Like, you've really got to take your time, watch a couple episodes at a time, let it sink in. It's a very rich and creamy show. It's mostly nougat, I think. It's a very intelligent show. My community warning was for bullying C.S. Joseph. I got a community warning for bullying. I mean, I deserved it on the video. Like, according to the new standards they'd set up, the new standards had just come in. And I explained to you, Octavio Silva, Bacano, even if it's made by the same people as Durarara, is down on the list because we have more Durarara to watch on Crunchyroll, and Bacano's not on Crunchyroll or Netflix. So, okay, well, I believe it. I mean, I don't have anything against PewDiePie at all. I think he seems like a cool guy. I just said that because it's like I feel resentful over the fact that, see, what I didn't get in the terms of service change was that it used to be if you got a strike for something, it dropped off of your channel after 3 months. Well, when I made that video about C.S. Joseph, I was very angry at him because, and the reason I was so angry was because of a video he made dismissing everything Taylor had said because Taylor had been in jail for drugs. And so I found that very offensive. Like, it's a straight up ad hominem, irrelevant, non-responsive, irrelevant on all grounds, and it made me furious. And so I made this very angry video calling him a coward and all those other names and stuff, and I got a community guidelines strike for bullying. What I didn't realize at the time was that that was going to stick on my channel forever. I've had it ever since. It's been a couple of years now. So that warning stays forever. Now, in contrast, the copyright strike that I got recently for Michelle Shocked, which I think is complete bullshit, frankly. Because I don't think I played any of her music at all. What I did was I said, if you're looking for this album, like I was, here's where you can find it elsewhere on the internet. In the Wayback Machine, basically. Michelle Shocked reported me for a copyright violation on it. I'm not quite sure. I mean, all I did was say, if you go to the Internet Archive, you can find the files for her music here. I don't see how that could be illegal. I just don't see how that could be illegal. Yeah, Michelle Shocked is highly spiteful. Clearly.
I was just thinking, like, what's up her butt? Like,
she has got this plan to eliminate any access to her music except by her selling her CDs for $250 a piece.
Forget that.
The thing is, I lost the opportunity to challenge it. I should have challenged it when it happened. The reason I didn't was because I couldn't remember exactly if I played a snippet of one of her songs in the video or not.
Pretty sure you didn't.
I'm pretty sure I didn't though, but and also it said it was going to drop off in 90 days if I went to copyright school, which I did. And so I just said, okay, fuck it, whatever. And then it wasn't until it's like, what happens is you go to log on to YouTube as normal, and all of a sudden there's this page that goes, you've been struck, and you have to make a decision right then. You can't even really listen to the video to see, or maybe you could, but I didn't at the time or something. I'm not sure. It's like, it really disrupts your state of being when you get a strike, either community guidelines or copyright. YouTube makes it clear to you that this is a big deal. So Maxichem, no, I don't think smoking weed does really anything to your function stack at all. You get torrenting copyright warnings all the time. I just changed to some other internet provider, so far no one cares. Well, I mean, the thing is, I make a concerted effort not to get copyrighted, so it's frustrating when I do, because it's not like I wasn't trying to follow the rules. Smoking weed makes your pee-pee smaller? Okay. Back when I was 14, I had the dick of a horse. After $35 years of smoking weed, though, it's all the way down to where I can fit it inside of Rachel. I've noticed it's easier to type someone on their mimic and gestic. Gestures? I don't understand what mimic and gestic are exactly. 49. 14 plus 35 is 49. So I had a typing session today at 11, but the lady had a veterinary appointment, a veterinary emergency, and had to postpone it. She'd already paid, so I know she's legit. I hope it's like when somebody tells me they have a veterinary emergency, my heart sinks, and I go like, "Oh, I hope your pet's okay." If it had been like, "Oh, there's a medical problem or something," I wouldn't have even thought anything. But when somebody says like it's a problem with their pet, I actually feel like FI, like, "Oh, I hope your pet's okay." Little left from the former glory. That former glory, just even trying to be really careful, send a couple women to the hospital. So I'm grateful for marijuana for making it possible for me to safely make sexual intercourse at a lady. Hilariously, Winston's mom. So we're reading Fahrenheit 451, and there's a section of it that's quite prescient of cancel culture. I'll read it to you, actually. It's kind of interesting. So, It says here, you must understand that our civilization is so fast that we can't have minorities upset and stirred. Ask yourself, what do we want in this country above all? People want to be happy, isn't that right? Don't we keep them moving? Don't we give them fun? That's all we live for, isn't it? For pleasure, for titillation? You must admit our culture provides plenty of these things. Monte could lip read. Colored people don't like Little Black Sambo. Burn it. White people don't feel good about Uncle Tom's Cabin. Burn it. Someone's written a book on tobacco and cancer of the lungs. The cigarette people are weeping. Burn the book. Serenity. Peace. That's about it for the cancel culture part. The rest of it, then they talk about how they've gotten rid of funerals because they make people depressed, So anyway, my client was asking what he should write his essay about. Is the same assignment as before, which is he's supposed to link a personal anecdote to something from the book. Okay. So I said, well, you should do a critique on cancel culture. And the personal anecdote you should use is something like, I got into an argument about this with people online. Okay. But Mom, of course, immediately rejected that as opposing what the school and teacher want in terms of pro-identity politics bullshit. And I said, well, it's very simple. I mean, you win by out-lefting them, You critique Black History Month as being infantilizing towards people who self-identify as Black. And you point out the fact that if we think that's a good way to make Black people feel special, then why don't we have Black seating sections and Black drinking fountains too? Oh, wait, that's segregation. I forgot. So let me address some of these other questions here. But anyway, I said write that essay, and then they're like, no, because it's telling the truth, and we can't possibly do that. So I said, okay, well then I said I gave them a essay idea that was just intended to be ridiculous, to make fun of his mom's kind of idea of how to write essays. I said, I know, Jeffrey, why don't you tell a story about how in third grade you were in a chess contest and you had to overcome shyness, and then you can relate that to something from the book. And he's like, and I ignoring. And I'm sure his mom was sitting there going like, that sounds good. I was like, no, I'm kidding. That's a terrible fucking idea. Don't do that. Whatever you do. All right. What do you think about the winter storm hitting Texas and the power outages still being unfixed? I don't know a whole lot about it. I was asked sort of from a candidate's perspective, what's my position on it? My position is, if I were president, I would consult with Texas about what they think the federal government's role ought to be. Texas, I think, especially would appreciate that kind of approach rather than having the federal government assuming a certain role here in Texas's business. If Texas wants the federal government's assistance in some fashion, that's fine. If they don't, it's not really the federal government's business. The other thing I would say is what's happened in Texas is a very heavy winter storm has struck an infrastructure that's not been built to weather this kind of event. It's the kind of event that may become more common, but that historically would be a once in a generation kind of event. And so it's natural to assume that winterization. Now, if it in fact is a once every 10 years event, then did this happen 10 years ago? If so, then something should have been done then. If this is the first time this has happened, I think it's silly to spend a lot of time playing Captain Hindsight, right? I mean, Winston's mom, believe me, I have talked my brains out. You got to understand what NI-polar means. NI-polar means, in an ESTJ, that we always resolve to an interface approach. An interface approach in this instance, since the teacher is not providing a mechanism of success other than examples, then the TE mechanism is to imitate the examples and try to do what the teacher wants, the FE interface consideration, and to assume that that's always the best approach, right? That you never win by being better. You always win by cooperatively engaging. And of course, yeah, it is a TE approach ultimately. But what I'm saying is it's an interface approach, fundamentally, that you win by successfully interfacing with the system. That is to say, by cooperatively engaging either with the realities of a physical system or the realities of a people-based system. Regardless, it's not, you don't win because you were right and they were wrong. You win because you worked the system properly, right? What I'm saying is a substantial number of people in the world, however, don't operate like that. And in fact, a substantial number of systems in the world don't operate like that. So if in fact you hammer Black History Month from the left, they can't say anything. You win the argument. And in fact, once you've won that argument, they're now uncomfortable with their own position on it because they realize they're subject to critique as being pro-segregation or something like that. A Texas judge has said in a redacted tweet, survival of the fittest. I mean, I'm not quite sure what the huge big deal is. Like, okay, so your electricity's down. Don't you have blankets and jackets and stuff? You're not going to freeze to death, are you? Well, she doesn't believe in the idea that I keep saying, which is there is room in this school for a what's the word I'm looking for? What's that word? Iconoclast. There's room in the school for a successful iconoclast if he does it right. In other words, there is a box that these teachers will put him in that will allow him to succeed, if you want to think about it from an interface approach. The reason Jeffrey is not currently succeeding with this teacher is because he's not authentically being himself in any way, shape, or form. So she can't put him in a real box. She's FI tool probably, so she values authenticity and can see the inauthenticity in what he's doing, you know? If he were to authentically be an iconoclast and be careful with his argumentation to hit shit from the left, then she would give him an A, call him eccentric, and have him understood adequately in her own ontology to avoid most of the problems he keeps running into. Because she's not an interface type either. She's an ENFP. I mean, no water, no electricity, no food, no gas. That's tough. I agree. The water part being the biggest problem. The food thing, I mean, if it's really that difficult to get to the store and get food and stuff, then I mean, that's a road clearance issue. When I was in Temple City, there was a big windstorm, and my power was out for a week, and I lived there for the whole time. my wife at the time and my daughter went and moved to my wife at the time's parents' house for the duration of that power outage. But I just said, I just stay here, and I did, and I went out to eat, or I ate like stuff that didn't require any prep or anything, like granola bars. And granted, it wasn't freezing cold, but it is the case that for most of human history, people didn't have electricity. It's not like what makes you think, Raphael, that African Americans want Black History Month? Why would you presume that? I'm assuming, I'm going to go ahead and project for my own self. I know when I self-identify as Black, I find Black History Month very offensive. So when I self-identify as African American, though, I still hate Black History Month. So your warrant's just been falsified. Because as somebody who is periodically African American and or Black, I use both terms sometimes, or either. And regardless of which term I'm using, I still hate Black History Month. You really regret how many girls you rejected? Why? Because now you don't have any offers? And you're like, damn, I should have taken one of those offers? Like that, or what? Ted Cruz is in trouble for leaving. Yeah, because he left his dog alone at home while he went on vacation to Cancun. I mean, Rachel and I have left the cat here alone when we went on vacation to Palm Desert, but never more than 2 nights. And cats are much more self-sufficient than dogs.
She had one night without us, and then one night Delilah fed her.
Okay, yeah. So if we were the second night, we asked Delilah to come feed her and stuff, And she's an inside-outside cat, so she's accustomed to not being able to come inside sometimes. Like, it's not always the case that Rachel and I are here. If she's not inside when we leave, she can't go inside. So it's not such a big deal. No, Black History Month is not good. Black History Month is infantilizing. It's projecting white guilt onto a group of people who may or may not wish to be victimized in that fashion, or be ontologically victimized in that fashion. You're presuming a shit ton of stuff about a whole bunch of people who self-identify as a variety of things if you think that Black History Month is good. If, in fact, Black History Month is good, then what else would be a great way to show kinship and friendship between Black people? Let's have a black seating section, too, where only the Black kids can sit.
What about, Breast Health Awareness Month? I mean, that's
that should be all year. Breast health deserves more than a month. I mean, can you imagine if I only checked the health of your breasts, Rachel, once a month? or in 1 month out of the year. That wouldn't be acceptable. No, it's infantilizing people who self-identify as Black and saying you get a special month. You get like the children's table, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's doing. That's not a good thing. The fact that you consider it a celebration of their culture is just paternalistic on your part, regardless of whether you are self-identify as Black or not. As somebody who is fluidly transracial, that as well is a bad thing. Gay Pride Month is a bad thing. Yes, for sure. Just as it would be, it's the Special Olympics of culture. If you want to have the Special Olympics for you, if you're African American, then like Black History Month. I saw this thing at Wells Fargo at the ATM. I went to do some business at the ATM, get money out or something like that, and they have this picture of a dark-skinned woman doing something business related, and it says empowered. I was like, Jesus. I'm glad I'm not transgender, because if I were transgender, so if I were a woman and happened to be African American at that moment, I would have been so fucking offended. Like, will you stop treating me like a baby? No, it's not at all like celebrating Mother's Day or Father's Day, because mother is a status afforded by having a child. Father as well, okay? As opposed to race, which is an arbitrarily defined nonsense that you confer as an identity onto other people and expect them to be limited to that definition. It's inherently evil. You know? It's not at all like Mother's or Father's Day, because there's nothing divisive about it, right? There's nothing belittling about Mother's or Father's Day. I mean, this is the thing. I don't think Hal Taylor is true. I don't think people on the left love to feel like a victim. I think that there's a group of people who love to feel righteous about their coddling of people they're conferring victimhood onto. You know? So it's like, if I'm a big proponent of Black History Month, I'm probably a white college professor. I mean, nobody celebrates it, Gemini, mate. Nobody celebrates Black History Month. Instead, students are subjected to a portion of history involving purported Black people during February. That's Black History Month. So when I was a child, Black History Month meant every year we learned about the same people again. We learned about freaking George Washington Carver and his peanut butter and his stoplights. We learned about Martin Luther King, and we learned about Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. And then next year we learned about those same people again, because it's Black History Month again. Now, I'm sure they have more Black history now than they did when I was a kid. They've probably written a lot of textbooks about it in colleges, where people talk about, the institutional violence done to the Black body and other incredibly bullshit TI polar critical theory. I don't doubt that there's plenty more Black history to talk about, but that still doesn't mean we need to confer this infantilized identity onto individuals who may or may not even self-identify as that. It's like At any given day, I may or may not be African American or Black, but so if you're conferring that identity onto me, you have no reason to know that that's today, right? It could be tomorrow that I'm Black. It's not the same with other holidays at all. It's not at all the same. Black History Month, Gay Pride Month, Short People Awareness Month,
Women's History Month.
Women's History Month. Those are all ways that idiots exercise a paternalistic contempt for people that ought not have those limiting identities conferred onto them in the first place. You know, Short People Awareness Month is just a way of saying, yes, there is something wrong with you, but we're trying to stop making fun of you for it. Okay? Black History Month is just a way of saying, yes, there is something inferior about you, but we're going to set aside a month anyway. Gay Pride Month. Yes, you people are disgusting perverts, but, you know, we're trying to be more tolerant of your wrongness. That's what these things are. To pretend as though they're otherwise is to be party to the foul and offensive wrongness of them. So, you know, it's like, Gemini mate, I didn't know you were such a horrible racist, but you are, right? Because you support Black History Month. You're condescending, paternalistic, infantilizing, and conferring arbitrary beliefs of your own as limiting structures onto other people. That's bad. Lol, okay. It's funny, you know, if I were saying stuff that you deemed racist, you wouldn't be okay with me just saying lol, okay. You'd insist that it was a big problem. Just giving representation. I mean, what makes you think those people were Black artists? Did they self-identify as such? If so, fine. But it's like, I don't want to be one of those horrible people who says, I want to compete in the special division because I can't handle it in the regular division. You know, it's like, maybe if I enter the contest, it's only for people over 6'4" with a beard, I'll have a better chance of winning. That's just, it's like, if you want to position yourself like that, fine. But don't expect me no, you're not just playing devil's advocate. You actually believe in these horrible things. I'm not just playing devil's advocate either. I'm actually trying to destroy this evil. Why? Because I am a paladin of righteousness. Yes, I am a paladin of truth. I come here with the truth and I smash down your wrongness. I am a paladin of righteousness. But not humility, apparently. But not humility. You're just a narcissist, Eric. You think you're so good. Such a pedantic, know-it-all smart aleck. Shut up, Eric. And thus have I nutshelled all of my conflict with the world. Today's international, okay. Winston's mom announces today is International Tug of War Day, but I'll tell you what day it really is. And I shit you not, today is National Lash Day. Check your lashes, ladies. How are they doing? On National Lash Day, every year, there are whipping accidents across the country as people misunderstand which kind of lash is indicated by the day. I remember my first National Lash Day. I was ankle deep in blood from the whip-induced stripes on my back before we both realized, oh, eyelashes. Nordstrom's sent me an email today informing me that it is National Lash Day. So you can trust me on this one. If you trust Nordstrom's, you can trust me.
Almighty lungs.
I should point out, for those of you who don't live in America, check your local authorities to see if you participate in Lash Day as well, because it is just National Lash Day. It's not International Lash Day.
No, it's not.
So, okay, is St. Patrick's Day infantilizing Irish folks to represent them?
Yes.
No, because St. Patrick's Day isn't Irish Day. Just because people turned it into Irish Day, it's St. Patrick's Day. Valentine's Day may have turned into a celebration of love, but it's not like it's about St. Valentine, right? Cinco de Mayo is not Mexican Day. It's a holiday they don't celebrate in Mexico.
Yeah, it's a Native American holiday.
Right? Or am I offended by celebrating Chinese New Year? Well, no, because it's not Chinese People Day. It's Chinese New Year. Right? Am I offended by celebrating Kwanzaa? No. If you want to celebrate Kwanzaa, celebrate it all you want. It's not Black People Day. Now, I'll tell you what's an offensive holiday. Arbor Day. Those fucking trees.
You had an issue with Arbor Day for a while.
Those fucking trees. Talk about groupists. They think they get their own day and all the other plants totally left out. It's not like every other day is vegetable day and fruit day or whatever. I guess that's the point trees are saying is like, hey, fruits and vegetables get too much attention, whereas the source of many fruits anyway gets too little attention. I guess trees are saying we're the most long-lasting plant varieties, so we get special attention or something. I'm not sure what it is with trees, but maybe they just have a better special interest group, you know, better lobbyist. Ooh, that's good. Oh, that was so fucking good. Oh, so juicy. I pulled this toe cuticle out. It's just so juicy.
The little toe is the juiciest.
Yeah, that's where it came out of. You see, it's like, ooh, it's got like a hole there.
Good job.
I don't have any problem with a group of Irish people setting up an Irish festival on St. Patrick's Day, right? That's individuals choosing to do what they want. I don't have any problem with that. If you want to self-identify as Black and celebrate some holiday that you have determined is Black themed or something, because that's part of your ontology, go for it. I'm not denying you access to whatever arbitrary ontological labels you choose to apply to yourself. Don't apply them to other people, though. Don't tell me you know anything about me regarding my race. Don't tell me that we need to set aside a day but for somebody based on their race or a month, right? Why do you think Kwanzaa's evil? It's just stupid. It's not evil. There's a big difference between stupid and evil, Raphael. It's stupid because what?
See, I think I was getting stupid and infantile like mixed up because I feel like St. Patrick's Day is like kind of is also a stupid holiday because it makes infantiles out of people when they drink.
Well, yeah, I mean, the drinking holidays in general are dumb. Cinco de Mayo and St. Patrick's Day are your two big. Basically, they're drinking holidays, right? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
And then July 4th is the other big drinking holiday, but it's a multi-holiday, so it's still a holiday for kids. St. Patrick's Day is only for kids in the sense that they wear green to school that day.
Yeah.
And Cinco de Mayo is only for kids in the sense that they have to learn about Mexico that day at school.
Yep.
But those are really adult holidays. But July 4th is everybody holiday because everybody has it off. There's usually barbecues. You go to the park. It's a family thing. It's also a drinking holiday for a certain group of adults, but because it's a very celebratory kind of holiday. But it's more inclusive than St. Patrick's Day and Cinco de Mayo of all demographics. Like the biggest fans in the world of Cinco de Mayo are Mexican restaurants. Well, not anymore, of course, now that restaurants have been rendered illegal.
Yeah.
I agree that Kwanzaa is silly. Kwanzaa is basically childish, okay? So Black History Month is infantilizing. That means it's an offensive move by a presumed normed majority to ontologically colonize a group of people that is arbitrarily grouped for reasons of the people doing the grouping, not independent of them. So that makes it bad. Okay, let's see here. No, I mean, there is such a thing as paternalistic racism versus antagonistic racism. That's true. Paternalistic racism is the more socially acceptable form. It's what makes it more insidious, ultimately. So it's basically explicit and tacit. You know, the tacit racism is more damaging because it begins to frame things in general through this identitarian frame, which denies the fundamental values of free society and the West, which are equality before the law, equality as individuals, and an egalitarian acceptance that we treat people as individuals first and not as members of a group first. These are the number one core values that have made a free society. To abandon those in favor of your modified form of group is bullshit is a terrible, 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 terrible civilization destroying idea. So knock it the fuck off. You know, you can't beat me in this argument about these things because I'm fundamentally correct. And that's never going to change. There's no good use of race. When you try to use it well, that makes you one of those condescending, paternalistic asswipes who's infantilized people based on your arbitrary distinction, on some gradient of skin shade that allows you to place them in this small box. That's how it is. It doesn't work any other way than that. It's fundamental to the mechanism you're employing. You may be able to fight fire with fire, but you can't use fire without burning shit. No, I know. It's disgusting. I am constantly throwing up my hands in dismay at the idiocy that has been normalized. But don't worry, I also have a lot of faith in the reality of the pendulum effect, you might call it, which is to say, there's always blowback when shit becomes too too predominant as a paradigm, it falls apart. It's not normalized, just mediaized. Well, I mean, I would agree that it's not normalized in the sense that everybody buys into it, but it's normalized in the sense that by and large, you know, it's risky to push back against it for most people. In other words, you subject yourself to certain kinds of ontological attack if you push back against it, if you're an average person. Because, like, Raphael pushes back against it, but he just seems like a racist. You know, it's like, so it's like, that's just the reality. I'm not one to throw the term around as an attack or anything. I'm just saying, like, in some sense, you would say he and I are on the same side, and that we are pushing against and what we're pushing against, but our reasons are totally different. And so this is the point I made many times before. What we decide matters much less than how we decide and our justifications for it. So it's like, if we require ourselves to justify things correctly, then we don't end up with bad conclusions. But if we are concerned so much about the conclusion, then we probably don't end up with well-reasoned conclusions. And unfortunately, most of the time we'll be wrong. Not always. Like, Raphael may be right in his opposition of Black History Month or Black Lives Matter, but he's opposing it for the wrong reasons. So as a consequence, he hurts the truth. He gives a legitimate example to people who are attacking those who would negate these institutions, of why people who attack it are just racists in disguise or something, you know?
Would you like a refill, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Like Boba Fett, what do you say there? You're just being the problem again. You're just being the problem. So how many Americans do you think there are that self-identify as Black that are direct descendants of Thomas Jefferson? Probably at least some. Mm-hmm. You know, Thomas Jefferson's real wife was a Black lady named Sally Hennings, and he owned her, you know. But to conclude that he's part of American history, but she's not, or that he's part of American history most 11 months out of the year, and she's part of American history in February, is completely arbitrary and insane. Okay, so there have been studies done about IQ that have shown that, on balance, the people with the lowest IQ in the world are sub-Saharan Africans. This has been debated as very controversial many times in the past. Because, of course, the data is pretty... it's like, if you accept all the basics going in, it's fairly well established, okay? Data-wise. But the thing is, my point is this. First of all, let's say that's the case. Let's just assume that, in fact, this data is reliable, that IQ is, on balance, lowest in this particular region. What do you want to do with that information? Because whatever you think you're going to do with that information is a bad idea. If you think you're going to go to sub-Saharan Africa and be able to reliably interact with people, assuming they're stupid, that's a bad idea. If you think you're going to structure some sort of remediation program for sub-Saharan Africa to make them more intelligent, that's a bad idea. Whatever you think you're going to do with that information is a terrible idea because it doesn't justify anything. Now, additionally, it begins to open up the obvious ground of critiquing IQ itself. What is IQ? It's a composite of varying skills, cognitive skills, that are tested in conjunction with each other by one official IQ test. So if you actually want to know what your IQ is, there's only one way to know it, and it's to take an official IQ test. Everything else that purports to tell you your IQ is not your IQ score. When I tell people my score is 107, I had a Mensa test tell me my IQ score was 107. A Mensa test that was exclusively made out of visual pattern recognition, had no words in it at all.
I think that they probably tell me that I'm from sub-Saharan Africa.
Well, the point is, that's not my IQ score, actually, 107, because I didn't take an actual official IQ test. The only thing that can give you your IQ score is an IQ test, in the same sense that the only thing that can tell you your SAT score is an SAT test. Now, you might say, you could easily enough translate SAT tests into multiple languages and say, look, Sub-Saharan Africa has the lowest scores on SATs in all the world on balance. It would be worth just as much as a piece of information as to say they have a lower IQ score. Except the problem is people have conflated IQ score with intelligence. Those two things are not the same thing at all. IQ score is much more like an SAT score than it is like a measure of your intelligence. I hope everybody heard what I just said. This is very important. For all of you TE using IQ lovers, people who really are fond of IQ scores, remember this. It's critically important to remember this. An IQ score is much more like an SAT score than it is like a measure of your intelligence. Okay? So, one of the biggest problems we have linguistically as a species, I'm sure, but especially, at least in English, is our language doesn't account for reality very well. When we talk about something being smart, we mean it in a couple of distinct ways, but we don't have different words for them. So in other words, oh, that was smart. You figured out that by opening up both these windows here, we can avoid having to take the door off, right? That we mean smart like that. Or we say, that guy's smart. We typically are talking about fancy talk versus solution-based stuff. We don't really have a different word for those two things. We call both of the things smart. Both of the things are signs of intelligence, we think. And yet they're completely different ways of paying attention. Entirely different. In fact, they're never on the same side of the stack. You see what I'm saying? Well, that's reflected in this antiquated notion of IQ. IQ combines a variety of different cognitive skills and tests them. Now, you could combine those different elements of cognition into a slightly different stew and get different results. So, depending on how you mix the ingredients of the stew, we may all agree that these 5 or 6 or 7 different ingredients go into a stew called intelligence. Say verbal reasoning skills, spatial pattern recognition, like problem solving on a ordinal level, parsing complex legal language kind of stuff, like verbal reasoning, or just like symbolic, like math kind of stuff. I don't know. You could come up with a bunch of different things, right? And say, okay, we all agree that these different things comprise intelligence. Now, and when you put them in a stew together, that's your IQ test. Here's the problem. If we have a little bit more potatoes and a little less carrots, then group X will be the super smart ones, and group Y will be the medium smart ones. Now, the thing is, IQ claims to have an external point of validation as well, namely that it can correlate with success in certain fields and ability to succeed at, or likelihood of being in certain fields. So in other words, if I have a very high IQ, IQ tests can accurately predict that let me change that. If I have an IQ of only 110 or something, an IQ test can accurately predict that I won't be one of these jobs that require a higher IQ. And it can be quite accurate at predicting that. Okay? But of course, the biggest problem with IQ is that it doesn't tell you. I mean, it can't help you it can't help you to know someone else's IQ. So I don't doubt that Jordan Peterson has a higher IQ than I do. He claims to have 160 something, I think. But he's clearly not as correct as I am. His notion that the Big Five is scientifically valid because is an abject failure to critique the frame. And there's no other way to put it, He's clearly not framed up enough if he's making those arguments. He's not made a meaningful calculatory attack on validation metrics within his own field. Well, in the U.S., there are it's because probably in general you're going to see some very high scores, IQ scores in the analyst group, or what I would consider scores that don't reflect actual intelligence in the analyst group. The analyst group includes INTJ, ENFJ, no, not ENFJ. INTJ, ESFJ. No, not the analyst group. I mean the executive group. So you've got ENTJs in the executive group, ESTPs, and ISFJs, and what's the other one? ESTPs, ENTJs, ISFJs, and INFPs. Okay, I think those ones are going to basically overscore. Okay, the executive group, the ones who have a physical function first and the metaphysical function second are going to overscore on the IQ tests, and because this test is their particular frame, and their tool function is universalist. So ENTJ is what I think Jordan Peterson is, and I don't doubt that his score is whatever he says it is. And I also point that that's really not useful to know. I have no sister or brother. No, I am an only child. The meta-analysts are ENTP, INTP, ENFJ, INFJ, thank you, yes. And the executives are ENTJ, ESTP, ISFJ, and INFP, correct. And the analysts are INTJ, ISTP, ESFJ, and ENFP, correct. And the executors are ESTJ, ISTJ, ESFP, and ISFP. Okay, well, overscore. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you want score to correlate with correctness, that that you're going to see a lot of overscoring in the executive category. You know, if you want IQ to correlate with correctness, because I think executives don't really care about the frame. They just want it clarified for them so that they can go to work. I mean, the frame is their dominant function. Either solve the problem, do some shit already, or on the introverted side, like, I know exactly what I'm doing at 12 noon today because I'm an ISFJ, and then at 4 I've got this, and I'm going to make some dinner after that. Or if you're an INFP, you know, vaginal blood blue splash party, I guess. I don't know. I've lost my train of thought. The important thing is that I'm dumb but right. That's the takeaway, okay? Being dumb don't mean you're wrong. Look at me. I'd rather be right than smart any fucking day of the week. Every day of the week, every day of the year, every day of my life, I'd rather be right than smart. Does anybody disagree with that? Would anybody rather be smart than right?
Although it's very embarrassing when I'm wrong.
Do you think that it's possible there's a family with only one type? Like a family full of all ENTJs or something? What a fucking nightmare that would be, huh? Like, yeah, ENTP mom, ENTP dad, ENTP son, ENTP daughter. What a fucking nightmare that would be. They just all be like gabbing at each other all the time. Or ENTJs, a family of ENTJs, one of them would sort of force himself father as the hierarchical leader, and they'd all fall naturally into chain of command, you know, and then it'd all be a family implementing dad's vision of whatever,
While also having their side.
a family full of ESFPs. They take turns sharing today's newest bullshit with each other. Have you heard? Lighting candles made half of beeswax and half of whale blubber causes witches to appear. And then the next one goes, I'm doing well with my semen retention. And the next one going, I'm thinking of getting a high colonic. I hear that really opens up the spirit. And then the next one goes, you know what? I hear high colonics are actually bad. I'm turning to Jesus. And then the first one they go back to the first one, and they just keep shifting ground and never address anything. Families full of ENFPs. I guess they take turns joking around and then getting offended at each other, and then retreating to their respective bedrooms to cool off. and then come back out and basically not talk about it, but just put it behind them because it's a tool function thing. It doesn't matter anyway, really. Yeah. And then again, start from zero, pretending as though nothing happened, then joking around, having a good time together, and then disagreeing on some point about politics, and everybody gets hurt feelings, everyone goes back to the room again. Repeat. Cycle, repeat. Rinse, wash, lather, rinse, repeat. That's the order of operations there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You just took a random online flower test. You're a sunflower. You are a sunflower, Fumbleheart. You are one of those really big sunflowers. It's not only yellow, but also orange and a little bit red.
Ooh.
The kind that all the birds flock to peck its sunflower seeds when it comes due. How would a family of ESFPs order a pizza? Just one of them a pizza would arrive, one of them would have ordered it, and that person will say, "Can you pay for it?" to one of the other ones, and somehow they'll scrounge up enough cash to pay for it, and then the one who ordered it, it'll have like that person's favorite shit on it, which is anchovies, bell peppers, and chicken liver, and then nobody else wants to eat it, and then they'll all yell at each other for a little bit, and then they'll all eat it anyway, and then they'll get some beers. A family full of ISTPs. Everybody in a separate room playing Fortnite. They're like the God's epicest Call of Duty squad or something. Whereas you get a family of ENFJs, they become like the Jacksons, you know. Dancing and singing. You get a family of ISTPs, they're like the Call of Duty team that every other player in the world fears. They're coordinated not only by calm, but by blood. Singular in their purpose. None of them tolerates you playing the game wrong. Okay? No! There's a pattern to it. Straight, then left, then straight. I told you don't get out of that bag worm until after I shot the grenade. But of course, they're all ISTPs, so they expect that of each other. And when they're done, of course, they've kicked everyone's ass. They come together. It's high five time. Crack a Coors Light. Even the 7-year-old doesn't matter. It's fine.
INFJs would like bump into each other and say that they were sorry.
Right. INFJs. An INFJ household is an endless procession of falling objects and apologies. How would a family of ENTPs order their pizza? Well, first, one would suggest making spaghetti. Another one would say, okay, fine, whatever. I don't care what I eat. Third one would go, I don't think we have any spaghetti sauce. Fourth one would go, let me go look. No, we don't have any spaghetti sauce. We've got barbecue sauce. You can't make spaghetti with barbecue sauce. It might be good. No, I don't want spaghetti with barbecue sauce. They end up eventually ordering a pizza. They're not quite sure how it happened. It's like 6 hours after they discussed ordering food, and somebody finally just did it. And you know, when it gets there, they're all like fucking super hangry, and they all just like, oh, I gotta go to bed. INFJ households would get uncomfortably cold because no one would touch the thermostat. So true, dude.
Yeah, it is.
You know, I make a point now when I leave the room before night of adjusting the heater, because Rachel and I started sleeping together some more. of adjusting the heater temperature down because I know that Rachel will not touch it. She will not
True.
change the temperature. You know,
Even though I do get warm at night.
right. We've been sleeping in this master bedroom for a year now, about approximately coming up on a year now, and there's been this like extra top mattress squishy thing on top of it the whole time, and my dad even said to us at some point, you guys could take that off if you want.
You did?
Yeah, well, he said to me at least, and it wasn't until like yesterday or the day before that I'm like, you know what? Let's take this thing off. Oh my God. The mattress is so much more comfortable than with that thing on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great mattress.
It is.
It took a year of sleeping dumb before we thought to take it off.
Yeah.
It's like if I've got my guitar someplace that Rachel wants to sit, she'll like sit somewhere else rather than move the guitar.
Yeah.
Or she'll kind of hover around it indeterminately. Like, Jesus Christ, woman! I this morning, in fact, I suggested that Rachel and I both agree to a rule, which is that every time we're in bed and we're not feeling very sleepy and we're feeling rustly, that we should roll around and rustle as much as we want, and know that it's the other person's responsibility to move if it bothers them. So, in other words, I'm going to go into bed and I'm not going to think about whether my rolling around and tossing and turning is bothering Rachel or my rying or whatever. And if it does bother her, she's welcome to move. And in the same way with the other thing, I want her to roll around and do whatever she wants, eat her food. At some point last night, I heard you crinkling something, and you probably the whole time tried to be super quiet about it. Like when Rachel was trying to take aluminum foil off of the roll while I was working with my student the other day, instead of what should be just whoosh, it was for like 3 minutes as she was trying to do it silently, which is way more annoying, right? A whole family of ISFJs is sort of like this.
Too many cooks in the kitchen?
Well, no, I think it's kind of a Norman Rockwell-y kind of, hey, you guys want to play Uno tonight? Yeah, that sounds great, doesn't it? I think that's going to be wonderful. Let's play Uno. Mom's making lasagna. I know, I'm helping with the salad. At 7 p.m., Mama, I know, I've kept track of all these things too. We have plenty of yogurt, don't we? Yes, Dawn just got some from the store on yesterday. Yeah, there's a table. Yeah, jigsaw puzzles for sure. Crossword puzzles. Ooh, what's another word for the titular character of a 70s mystery novel? Eric Strauss. Have you ever heard of this guy named Eric Stryker? No. I've never heard of Eric Stryker. Yeah, but also, not really very into work per se. I do ISFP. I mean, it's just like they come out of their rooms, kind of look at each other and smile. You want some coffee? And they go back into their rooms.
Their hair is a little disheveled.
It's just as dumb as no bullshit and twice as aggressive about it. Oh, well, that sounds awful. I don't don't know about ISFPs. ISFPs, I don't think of them as being particularly notable in any particular way until they're mad. An angry ISFP is kind of scary.
Mhm.
Like one time I got Katie mad at me. Whew. One time I got Octavio Silva mad at me. I'm glad I didn't actually have to talk to Octavio Silva face to face. You get this look in their eye of murder, you know. ISFP, angry ISFP is what you've done if you've angered an ISFP is you violated something they find precious in some fashion. Details be damned. That's all there is to it. If you violate, from their perspective, if you violate something that they find precious in some fashion, if they find precious, if you violate in some fashion something that they find precious, then you have yourself a problem. Because, you know, they come at you with straight up FI angry, like, you know, it's very raw, but uncouched by language. It's just sort of, I can't even. I like that kind of. That facial expression conveys the angry ISFP's angriness. I believe the word is anger, Eric, not angriness. Well, did you see that emotionality? Right, but Oliver Lynan says this. I'd never seen that side of the dude. That's what will happen if you have an ISFP friend. At some point, you'll see them get genuinely angry, and you'll go, "Whoa! I had no idea you had that shit in you." That's ISFPs. I was shocked when Katie got really mad at me, and she was like, she went from this kind of, from my perspective, kind of this dreamy disengagement with meaning into, angry tiger.
Oh my gosh.
Mike Tyson is an ISFP? That makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Heather, my ISFP friend from growing up, she was known to get into people's face. Really there is that fierceness there.
Yeah.
Which ones have we left? Okay. Which types have we left out? ISTJ?
A whole family full of ISTJs? I mean, there's nothing broken in that house. I'll tell you for sure. Everything is working in tip-top shape. And everything has a place. Everything's in its place. And everybody has their own space as well. It can't be, there's very little shared space in the ISTJ's house, I think. The shared space, they have kind of, they have no problem getting it cleaned up because ISTJ, if one of them leaves dishes around, of course none of them do, but if one does, it's okay. I love those persons, so I don't really have a problem with this unfairness of me doing the dishes more often. That's the kind of ISTJ thing. So if all your family's ISTJs, nobody's not cleaning up after themselves ever. Bring your slide rule to the dinner table. Well, I mean, I think it's weird because I guess the family starts with mom and dad. And as the children are being raised, all the mom and dad are ever talking about is stuff that happened before the children were born. Now, once the children get to be a certain point, then they start talking about when the children were little. So they're always talking about stuff that's happened before. And then these ISTJ kids are themselves referencing what's happened before, which is stories of what happened before that. So you get kind of this finite regression of backwards looking. No, that's my spot, says every ISTJ. Well, I mean, they've already determined that. They've determined whose spot is whose spot the first day that the child was born, and it stays that way forever. So, on their son's first birthday, he got his first socket wrench set. And on his second birthday, he got all the tools he needed to maintain his tricycle, which he received on his third birthday. It's important to have the tools first so he got accustomed to them and how to use them, and he had a good place for them, had them organized properly.
All right. So ESTJ.
Well, I imagine that, like the ENTJ family, it would have to fall into a bit of a chain of command, and that Dad's primary TE would be accepted as the guiding frame of reference, and all the other family members would TE in accordance with it, probably. Of course, they're all going to be in agreement about everything because as a family, they take their cars to Joe down at Blanc. That's their guy. So he's the best guy. They have conversations like, thank goodness we got Joe. Yeah, he's the best one. We've had him for years. We keep going to him, so we know him. So he's reliable. And they all nod. I guess the car will be ready pretty soon. How about I take you down there and then you go up here and do this thing. And then we'll meet back here later. And then they each recount what they've done.
Yeah.
Later on, they separate to watch news broadcasts in separate rooms. And if one of them happens to interfere with this time period by going into that person, what? They're all like, what? It's news broadcast time. What are you doing? And then like the daughter goes, Dad, you promised me that we would attend to tasks A and B between the hours of meow and meow, and it's almost meow. Shit, you're right, I did. All right, tell your mother to implement stage 4 of our secondary plan that we made for the evening. A new personality type, the Three Stooges. I guess Mo. You start with Mo, right? He's yada. Now listen, you. He's probably seems kind of ISTP-ish, I guess. Now, the one with the curly hair, which is Curly, I guess, who was replaced by the bald guy, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, Larry Curly. And
wait, Mo, Larry. I think I got him. I think I got the people wrong. Okay, so Larry is the. Let me look at a picture of him. Let me Google this. The Three Stooges. Images. Let me see this here first. Curly and Mo. Okay. So I'm talking about Mo. Mo, I think, is an ISTP. Larry is like an ISFJ or an ESFJ, maybe. Curly is probably an ESFP or an ISFP. That's what I would say. Who agrees with me? Is in fact Mo an ISTP. He's the most sensible of the three, right?
Yeah.
And is in fact Larry a ISFJ pushover type?
Possibly.
My grandma is an ISFJ and my dad is an ISTJ. She cooked lunch for him to work every day for like 15 years and they loved it. In which way are INFPs scary? I find them, personally, I find them intimidating because I feel like when I'm interacting with them that they are making or preparing to make judgments that I am not privy to about me, and that they're not revealing things very much with FE, and that includes whether or not they think my TI validations are adequate for the thing being validated. Because they're my supervisor type, I operate kind of, I guess, under the assumption that they're better at knowing whether I'm using the right validation metric than I am. And so it makes me feel like insecure after I'm done typing one of them, because I don't feel like I have any way of knowing what their actual judgment is, because they make that later on with their feelings as they process what happened. So that's why, yeah. I mean, Legends Fall knows the feeling of like, okay, I'm not getting anything back as far as guidance here on their response to me. I'm just getting kind of like blankness. It's like, okay, I am at a loss here. That's what happens when you don't have FI very much, because is it true that truth is what is useful? No. Truth is determined contextually via discourse. And validity is universal validation of the, I guess, legitimate use of language, which is to say that it's not logically invalid. Is it true that the truth is true? Truly, it is. Conditionally, contextually. Which slot function does one have the most frustrating relationship with? 6th, 7th, or 8th? Frustrating is an interesting word. Definitely not 7th. If you're talking about within the self, okay? So if you're talking about paying attention by 6, 7, or 8 causes me the most discomfort, the answer is 6. If you're saying, but see, the reason 7th is called polar is it's a place of least resistance. If somebody is trying to attack me, they're going to be most successful at attacking me by crossing my personal boundaries and operating under the attack assumption that I'm not going to be able to recognize those as boundary crossings and respond to them appropriately. Should we determine the value of something based on measurable utility? Well, I mean, some things have value independent of the individual who's observing / possessing it. Other things don't. So right now, this paper towel has enough value to me for me to not throw it away because it's the thing I'm fidgeting with. But once I'm done fidgeting with it, it will cease to have value to me and I will throw it away. So that's one understanding of the word value. You'll note that objectively, quote unquote, the value of this is what somebody will pay for it. If you want to talk about the external value of it, or the value independent of my relationship with it. But there are some things that are more fungible than others. So if we have a truly fungible product or object, then it's called a commodity. So examples of fungible things are hunks of gold. As long as it's the same purity gold, it's interchangeable. This ounce of gold for that ounce of gold, doesn't matter which ounce of gold you have. As long as they're both equally pure, they're the same thing functionally. Same thing with light crude oil. This barrel, that barrel, interchangeable. When things have that quality of fungibility, then the value of that thing can be established, and it changes depending on supply and demand mostly, and that's why we have commodity markets. Always that cough from your INFJ girlfriend. Well, yeah, she coughs more than I do, but for the same reason, namely pulling bong rips. What is my opinion about dogs? That to get a dog is almost as serious a decision as having a kid. So that's why I don't have a dog and probably won't get one again for a long time. I might get one, say, when I might get one in like 15 years. I want to make sure that I outlive the dog, I guess.
Oh, that's nice.
How big is the chance to mix up ISTP and ENTP? I think that ISTP ENTP is going to be consistently mixed up in one specific instance only, and that is Eminem. And the reason is because if you watch interviews of him, his affect, he displays like an ISTP, and he interviews like an ISTP, which is to say, he has little to say, and just generally projects the affect of an ISTP. But he, in my opinion, is definitely an ENTP, and I justify this based on my analysis of his work. Now, obviously, I can't really win this argument, so I don't like to have it, because it depends which kind of evidence you want to prioritize. I'm not able to interview him in a typing session like I would a normal person who's hired me to type them. So I can't point to meaningful evidence beyond just his work. And so I don't like to have the argument, but it's my position that Eminem is definitely an ENTP, and a lot of people type him as an ISTP. He might be an INTP. That's the other possibility for Eminem, in my opinion, is he's possibly an INTP. BB Hero, positive, confident, ego-focused parent, ego-focused. Parent, positive, confident, others-focused. Child, positive, vulnerable, others-focused. Anima, positive, vulnerable, ego-focused, opposing, negative. Opposing, ego-focused. Opposing, negative, confident, ego-focused. Negative? I don't think your fifth slot's negative in any meaningful sense. I don't know what that means, but which Synex? Negative, confident, others-focused. Trickster, negative, vulnerable, others-focused. I don't think the seventh is negative or others-focused. Demon, negative, vulnerable, ego-focused. I agree with that by and large for 8th slot. When I was just a little baby boy, my mama used to tell me these crazy things. She used to tell me my daddy was an evil man. She used to tell me he hated me. But then I got a little bit older and I realized she was the crazy one. But that's just the way she was. They say I can't rap about Coke no more. Slut, think about and choke no horror till her vocal cords don't work in her throat no more. These motherfuckers thinking I'm playing it, thinking I'm saying it just to be saying it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
That's my cover of Kill You by Eminem.
Kill you.
Mm-hmm.
You did a great job. It is not easy to rap Eminem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You don't want to fuck with Shady, because Shady will fucking kill you. When I first heard that album, I was in line at the Jack in the Box, and I was just so blown away by it. I was just like, when it first comes on, you hear those first few notes of the first song, Kill Me, I was like, wow, this is fucking genre changing,
Yeah.
It was really a striking experience. There's a couple of things I remember the first time I listened to them, where I was, I have a very clear memory of listening to, for the first time, before the album even became popular. My girlfriend at the time was already into Nirvana before Nevermind became popular. And so she was into Nevermind a couple weeks before anybody had ever heard of it. And I remember lying kind of half asleep in her room in Santa Cruz, and the song Polly coming on. Here's the thing. I wasn't especially I'm not a huge Nirvana fan. I wasn't blown away by that whole album or anything. I did not have the same experience that I'm talking about with the Marshall Mathers LP regarding the album. But when Polly came on, at that moment where it's like the afternoon sun was coming in through the window, I was lying there on the bed. It was like either post-nap or pre-nap, I don't know. And it, Polly want a cracker. I think I should get off her first. And it's like I just had, crazy goose pimples, hairs rising all over me. It was such a powerful moment with a song, Most things I don't remember the first time where I was the first time I heard it, but there's that is a strange thing to link to there. Listen, small. Little Jenny Sue, the feminist 7th grade CX debate rapper. That is an interesting link you put there. I really have basically no recollection of what this sounds like, so I want to see what it is. 2016. Little Jenny, the feminist 7th grade CX debate rapper, visits the school board. Oh, I see. I don't have the speakers on.
That's why I'm here today at the board meeting. As member of the student body and the world who's not so vain, and all of you all, I got some words of wisdom for you to follow. Well, honey, don't on me, motherfucker. All right, go ahead. So I got that I'm losing a student around the crew up in the suburbs where I grew here, where you are as well, scared.
This other song, this thing here is just a beat to rap over, right? I always liked this. I like to listen to this in the car and rap over it. is a very easy rap beat to rap over. If you got feet, then you could walk along and sing along too. It moves at a comfortable pace, and you can make a perfect rhyme in plenty of time before you come to the next end of the line. It's well suited to practice freestyling over as a consequence. I can't believe I still have all those videos up there. It's like if I were to actually edit for quality, I have to get rid of like probably most of my videos. Yeah, most of the shit that I've done is terrible of all sorts, whatever kind of video. It's not very good. Perhaps indulgence in wood, delivery, and I don't think I ever heard it really though. Eminem's Relapse album's okay, at least the one song that made the radio about take my hand and walk along and all of that stuff. Yeah, I made this beat with my beat making hands. First I made some beat and then I made some sand. Then I put the sand inside the beat and had a fan. It was myself though. Relapse was awful, but I had fun listening. I didn't listen to it, I don't think it's this. Does Eminem himself not like kind of shit on his own, some of his own albums? Like he thinks they aren't any good? Is that one of the ones that he says he doesn't think they're any good? Did he actually have a relapse? Did he relapse into consuming drugs and alcohol? You know, he once had a drug problem, yo. So he needed to stay away from alcohol. And as a consequence, he needed to be sober. And he stopped doing drugs forever. It's over. Did he then? He dedicates the album. Did he actually relapse? Or was it just I haven't heard Rap Devil, I don't think. I heard what's it called? Godzilla the other day. I think Godzilla is better than Rap God. I don't really like Rap God. I think Killshot's better than Rap God. I haven't heard Rap Devil. And I think Godzilla is better than Killshot. Sing a ballad over this? Blues and A minor backing track? Oh, I'll sing a ballad over this. It's not blues and I minor. It's this song that beats that I was rapping over. I need to have better the thing that the Rap Devils and J. Kelly's diss track is that Machine Gun Kelly's plea. It's not true that everything he did after the things that you mentioned there is bad. Instead, it's true that some of it is rad, but most of it's kind of just like, I don't know. He had his moment. He was successful, and he's done a good job of trying to collaborate with contemporary artists who bring new vibrancy to his shit. But at the end of the day, he's so technically proficient that it's like he doesn't really have any hugely meaningful stories to tell anymore, you know? He's gone through all the shit in his life where he was fighting with his friends, fighting with his wife, and doing too many drugs, and drinking and driving, and crashing and getting into court cases, fights, and all sorts of stuff like that. Interesting things. Now he's an old man and he knows how to sing. He also knows how to rap really well, but he no longer has any stories to tell. And that's the sad ending of the man who once began and Eminem and was so great. And he really was on top of his shit. But now it's just like, okay, better you just go away. Yes, you still rap well, but artistically you're in kind of a spell of indeterminateness, mediocrity, guaranteed. Yeah. I don't know how old he is. The thing is, he's still best when he's fighting battles with people. So his best tracks are still his diss tracks in general. Like I still think some of his finest work is done in his beef with Benzino. You know, like what's it called? Nail in the Coffin. What is he?
He's Gen X.
What's his age?
He's a year younger than you.
Oh. I mean, it's no wonder then that I've long, you know, he really, I know this is true for a lot of people, but he really like spoke to me in a lot of times. Like, you know, I had a cheating wife around the time when some of his albums came out, and I identified with that stuff. I had a little girl at the same time he had a little girl. I identified with that stuff. I had a drug problem, an alcohol problem. He did too. I identified with that stuff, you know. I'd had some experience, nothing like what he experienced, but some experience with, you know, being the bullied intuitive a little bit. Is that safe to play? I mean, am I going to get a copyright thing or anything? I don't know what that is, but if it's a backing track, it should be fine, right? The Mariah Carey disc is pretty great. Yeah. Okay, it's safe, you're saying? Oh, okay, I'll see what it is. Playing guitar over this makes you feel like a rock star? Let's see. How many rocks are there? My star. Baby, when I saw you across the room that night, I knew you was gonna be my gal. Yeah, sweetie, I saw you and I said, now there's a sensual woman. There's a woman with deep and meaty sensuality. The kind of deep and meaty sensuality that makes me feel like a man. Ooh, child, girl, woman, child now, all night long. Ooh, yeah, till the morning dawn. Oh, yeah, girl, child now. Child, girl, woman, child, girl, all night long now. Child, girl, woman, child, baby girl, yeah. Till the morning light. And you saw me across that room. And you knew it was National Lash Day. And you batted your eyelashes at me. And I said, oh, gee, that's a woman across the room. A real woman. With womanly curves and womanly moves. And you said, yeah, I am. And I said, yeah, you are. And I said, sup? And I'm like, hey, girl. And you're like, hey. And then I said, you know what? That's empty.
Oh.
I'll tell you what I said in a second. This is cash. Come on.
That's okay.
I said, girl, child, woman, all night long, yeah. From the break of day to the morning light and dawn, oh yeah. Child, girl, woman, child, girl, baby, yeah. Oh yeah.
Will you split one with me?
And I'll rock your body. And I'll rock your mind. And I'll rock your heart. All over the time. Cause girl, child, woman, child, girl. You're my woman. Why do you want to split one? Just take the whole one.
Okay.
What?
Thank you for encouraging me.
Oh, you want to play guitar over there? You want to hear me shred? I see. Okay. It's time to shred. Let's see if I'm in tune. Shredding time, girl, child, woman now. Child, girl, woman, child. I'm not into guitar soloing. I've just never been into soloing on the guitar, really. I guess I could play solos, but I don't know. I much prefer my my vocal stylings. I mean, obviously that backing track is intended to have a sensual talking part, and then to have a chorus that includes both girl, child, woman, all night, till the morning light, till the dawn, and rock you in some random order. Give it to me, oh yeah, or also okay. Cause girl, child, woman now, child, on that long ride. Rock me till the morning, till the dawn's early light. I was singing my favorite cover. Okay, I'll sing my favorite cover. I would call this my new favorite cover, by the way. My favorite cover for the moment. My favorite cover for a while was Still Rock and Roll to me by Billy Joel. But my new favorite cover is, unfortunately, in some sense, a song that could very correctly be called racist. I don't like it because it's racist. I like it because it's just like right in my wheelhouse. I mean, I don't know what to say. As far as playing it goes, it's super comfortable for me to play. This is too high. How about that? Is that better? Yeah. Some folk call me a rambling man, cause I do a lot of thumbing and a kicking can. And answer good, call me names. All I've had was a Willie Woodrow. I was born and raised in no ghetto. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I don't need no handout, living, don't want any part of anything they give. And I'm proud of my knockout song to sing. I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you want to get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. It's fun, huh? Let's see, what's the next verse go? Small-time boy, been around a little, and I like guitar and I like the fiddle, cause that's the kind of soul that fan my flame. I'm ready, I gotta work just to be somebody, just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I don't want no handout, living, don't want any part of anything they give, and I'm proud of my knockout song to sing. I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you want to get ahead, you gotta hum and get it. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I'm a small time, blue-eyed Billy, feared and ready. I gotta work just to be somebody. I'm a white boy looking for a place I'm a good time fella, but I ain't no black and I ain't no yellow. So I go looking for a place to do my thing. Well, I don't want no hang out, living no more than part of anything. Giving out five night, knock out a song to sing. I said a few things ain't I'll admit it. You got a head, you got a home, ain't get it. So I go looking for a place to do my thing. Yo, I said a few things that I'll admit it. If you want to get ahead, you got a home, ain't get it. So I go looking for a place to do my thing. I think it just pops right along, doesn't it? It's like it plays itself, I tell you. I've totally forgot. I haven't thought about it since you last mentioned it, frankly. And now that you mention it again, it's like I still think I don't even want to think about it because then I have to have something to think about that I had not thought about before. It sounds like a pain in the ass. He's talking about where I pick. I guess he's saying I pick too much up here. Is that what you're saying? I should pick down here more? Maybe I should. I don't know. It's funny that it's like I just have never thought about it really. I guess occasionally on when recording I may have thought about it on occasion, but it like didn't stick or something as a consideration. Now the other end, was you playing saying I'm playing it too low down? Well, I'm not a gearhead, all right? Just to be clear about that. I'm not really into gear and knowing about gear. I don't like gear stuff, you know. So you say I should play it higher up here. Oh, I see. I play it here. Well, because my hand goes here, right? Like it sits here when I'm plucking. So I guess I'm just used to it because if I'm doing it like this, then it doesn't really matter. But it's because I sit my palm here. You know, I guess I never really thought about it. Like I said. Okay. I'm gonna play another song or two and then wrap this up. I think I'd like to play. Okay. What am I going to play before I go here? This is unfortunate. See, I burned my meow here with a cigarette yesterday accidentally, and I got it on both sides of the finger. And now I'm playing guitar. It's the blitzer that I didn't pop yesterday is making wetness. It's making wetness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, from the burn. When I was younger, it seemed that everything gleamed. I don't know what happened to me, but I've lost that sense of urgency, and I don't think that I'll ever see you again. Okay, I'm gonna play over the whole now, okay? If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm lost in you, and you'll want to know the way to get back at you. Wherever it was you thought you knew, and tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost in two. It feels like loosey-goosey to me or something. I don't know. Like I don't have as much control over the sound or something. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will. And And the things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again. If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm loster than you. And you'll want to know the way to get back out to wherever it was you thought you knew. And tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost then too. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will. And the things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again. Thanks, Rachel.
You're welcome, Eric.
You're a wonderful darling.
Oh, thank you. I think you're a wonderful player.
We need to know. We need to see. We need to hear happenings down by our means to judge a logic to life we divisively unlike and from which we'll rarely budge. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they missed a sign. How do they set their priorities? These foreign backstabbing entities into anarchic and misery follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting, cursing, Desiree, we're stuck with such petty larceny. All partition of victories and co-destruction of the whole damn world. Judy shares now her limits. Hope Judy will too. Jerry shared for 4 minutes. You just can't share things like they do. Judy's in forgot about shit and thought though that she ever called she would die. Judy should have bought it too when she had the chance to buy. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they miss the sign. How do they set their priorities? These foreign backstabbing entities into win are making misery follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting, cursing, and Desiree, we're stuck in such petty larceny. We all partition the victories and call it destruction of the whole damn world. Oh. Do I play prog rock? I don't think so, but you might call some of it that, I guess. Is it progressive?
Would you like a Band-Aid?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I think I want to play well, let me open up set list, Bobat list. If by prog rock you mean stuff that has unnecessarily complicated chord progressions, yes, I do play a fair amount of that. I'm not exactly proud of it, but it is true that some of my songs have kind of complicated chord progressions. Probably something like Well, this has a complicated chord progression, for sure. Although some parts of it are more complicated than others. What's the matter with Chad? Is he terribly bad? Is he very like Dan, who's a terrible man? Is he sort of like Jill, who can't pay her bill? Or rather like Jack, who's stuck on the facts? What's the matter with Sue? Will she know what to do if they bring attitude? Will she show ingenuity? She talks about you whenever we go walking. What's the deal with Brent? She's been living in sin. She's been hanging with Jim, who's looking terribly thin. What's the deal with Frank stealing fish from my tank, colluding with you, and they're talking to Lou? What's wrong with the ladies? What's the matter with men? From Katie to the coldness of Sven. They talk about you whenever we go walking. Paths that lead to lesser days, till spill out the overwatered past, and whoever's left that's still okay, just by the sails to the mast. Are you angry at Ken or at Neville again? Don't bother with Kev, he's practically dead. Just focus on Bert, he's medium hurt. What's the quandary for Liz? Did she fail the quiz? What's the matter with Drew? Did she know what to do if they bring attitude? Will she show ingenuity? She talks about you whenever we go walking. Paths that lead to lesser days, but still at the overwatered past, and whoever's left that's still okay, just tie the sails to the mast. 'Cause each of us has much and gravely sinned. Throw up the hands, stiffen the chin. Catastrophe looms heavy overhead again. Time's gone will never be again. Thank you, darling. What a wonderful lady you are. You want to sing this one with me? If you don't feel like you don't have to. Obviously. Whatever you feel like doing. And you be responsible for scroll down when it's necessary.
Okay. Just brooding here won't do any good, but brooding's more and more my style. I seek the cheery ways of standing where we stood, 'cause I've been stuck here a while. That's despite a natural selfishness that makes it easy to have fun. But flutters in the gut become a fist as all my visions come undone.
I tried to string distracting through the afternoon away, but heavy new realities are breaking every day, and for a bit I am out of it. Reasons still unsaid, still I need to get out of me. What's inside my head?
It seems like everybody's so sensitive, so ready to just get mad. I seek the simple ways of living like a 'cause he wants to be the dad. Have we lost our sense of scope and scale? Our capacity to laugh? The sense to know, but not to wail, or how to tip the golden calf.
I tried to steal distracting dreamy afternoon away, but heavy new realities are breaking every day, and for a bit I am out of it. For reasons still unsaid, still I need to get out of it. What's inside my head?
And still I'm sad, sad for me, sad for her,
Happily, what you call sorrow, I call home. Blues that sing clear down to the bone. Yeah, still I'm sad, so sad for me, sad for her. Happily, what you call sorrow, I call home. Blues that sing clear down to the bone. You're right. Thank you. You were right there. That was the correct way to do it. I forgot. Okay, well, that sounds like a good time to end this live stream.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. The Future Bites. What's Rachel staring at? The lyrics to the song.
Yeah, I was probably like super intense.
I had the lyrics and the chords up on the screen here. If you'd like to look at the lyrics and chords to my document set list Bobette list, which is the document from which I am currently practicing. Like it's a list of the songs that I practice in preparation for a hypothetical like live show that I play at some point or replay at some point, that who knows when that'll come to be. I want to get Rachel's to have clear singing parts in each one and for us to practice those, but we don't really spend a lot of time practicing, I guess. We should practice more maybe. Anyway, that's the setlist Bobette list document if anybody's interested. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And if you do, eat twice as much cheese tomorrow.
I'm not complaining about how much